Welcome to the 5-Minute Yoga Lab again. I present these videos so that it hopefully gives you some ideas to improve stability, safety, and ease in your yoga practice. So we're going to talk a little bit about Chaturanga Dandasana right now. So I'm going to focus more on the upper body rather than the lower body. So let's talk about something that's often overlooked in Chaturanga Dandasana, and that's body proportion. So if somebody generally has a longer torso and they have longer arms, coming into Chaturanga Dandasana and bringing your elbows right over your wrists is going to be challenging and put a lot more extra pressure onto the shoulders, especially if you don't have stable and strong shoulders. So what can you do? So I don't see anything wrong, and I've done this in my own practice a while ago, is to, when you're coming down into Chaturanga, is to just take your hands a little bit further apart so that the load from the shoulders is shared with the chest. Yeah? And then when I come down, I'll have my elbows a little bit behind my wrists instead. Yeah? And then I'll come down, elbows a little bit behind the wrist, sternum reaching forward, bottom tips of the shoulder blades pulling slightly towards my bum. Yeah? And then I can come easily up into upward facing dog. Okay? So that will just help to take some of the load away from your shoulders, is having the elbows a little bit behind the wrists and also the hands a little bit wider apart to share the load between the shoulder work and the chest work. So another thing that we can take a look at too is sometimes you will see this kind of action happening in Chaturanga, and I see this more with experienced students, is coming into Chaturanga, the bum goes up, look at the position of my elbows compared to my shoulders, and then they drop the bum and they'll come up into upward facing dog. So I'm not saying that any of this is incorrect, but in order to reduce the possibility of injuries, consider this. When my elbow is much higher than my shoulder, yeah, so my humerus bone is driving in towards my shoulder joint, and the force is coming down in towards the floor, and I'm doing a quicker chaturanga with my bum up. For some people, that's going to put unnecessary strain on what are called bicep tendons. So we got two bicep tendons, a short and a long one, and it tends to happen more to the long bicep tendon, which connects to the labrum in the shoulder. So what will happen is, over repetitive use, and you're doing it faster, your chaturangas with your bum up and your nose diving down into the chaturanga like I demonstrated, that can start to cause some pain in the front of the shoulder for some people. So just be wary that when you're doing your chaturangas, that your bum isn't poking up. Yeah? Keep it level down with the shoulders. And see how that feels, maybe with the hands behind with the wrists ahead of the elbows, and maybe the hands a little bit wider apart. Last thing we can just talk about is that, do the elbows need to necessarily hug into the ribs in Chaturanga? I actually find that quite hard. And actually, over time, if you're practicing regularly, it might cause some issues for some people up here in the shoulders, called your supraspinatus, and that overstretching. Yeah, so maybe try to let the elbows hang out a little bit. Yeah, they don't need to hug into the ribs. Let them hang out a little bit, because it's all about really bringing more ease into the practice, right? Not more stress into the practice. So there you have it, guys. A couple of things you can consider for your Chaturanga Dandasana. I'll have more on this in the future. And if you have any comments or you want to have any questions, just write below. Peace out, everybody.